Okay, so this is a long story, but I will try to make it as simple as possible. I am a 22-year-old guy and I work as a salesboy at a pretty big retail store in the mall. It is just a part-time job while I'm going to community college, but I really need the money to pay rent and bills. About a year ago, I started dating this girl named Stacy. When we first met, she seemed really cool, pretty, funny, and we had a lot in common. But after a few months of dating, she started showing her true colors as a greedy, materialistic person. Stacy is obsessed with name brands, designer clothes, expensive makeup, you name it. And she expects me to buy her all this pricey stuff even though I am just a poor college kid making minimum wage. Whenever we would go to the mall, she would drag me into all the fancy boutiques and high-end stores, trying on hundreds of dollars worth of clothes and accessories. Then she would give me these sad puppy dog eyes, begging me to purchase it all for her until I would cave in and max out my credit card. I told Stacy over and over that I couldn't afford to spoil her with such expensive gifts, but she would just pout and guilt trip me. If you really loved me, you would find a way to get me what I want, she would say. This spoiled brat honestly believed that denying her material possessions was basically abuse or something. So, this went on for months, me working 60-plus hour weeks between my job at the store and classes, barely scraping by to survive. Meanwhile, Stacy was still jobless, sitting at home spending every last dollar I earned on her frivolous shopping addictions. Every week it was a new Coach purse, a new pair of Louboutins, a new Apple Watch. I was going into serious debt just to keep her happy. That is when Stacy got the bright idea for me to start borrowing merchandise from the store where I worked. At first, I was absolutely shocked and refused. But she wouldn't stop nagging me about it. Just take a few things here and there, no one will even notice. It is not like you are stealing from a person, it is a huge corporation. Against my better judgment, I eventually gave in to Stacy's relentless pressure and began secretly pocketing small items from work, makeup, jewelry, accessories, and the like. Just little stuff at first. But it didn't take long for Stacy to start demanding bigger and bigger things. Babe, I saw the cutest Michael Kors handbag at the mall yesterday. You could totally smuggle that out in one of the store boxes, right? Or, my friend got these amazing hair extensions and they were so expensive, can you snag a set for me too? It just kept escalating. I felt extremely guilty and uncomfortable doing this, but Stacy had manipulated and brainwashed me into thinking it was no big deal. They are a billion-dollar company, they can afford a few losses here and there. And we are so broke, we deserve to treat ourselves a little. Fast forward to last week, and upper management pulled me into the office after reviewing the security camera footage. They had caught me red-handed slipping a $400 KitchenAid mixer from the housewares department into my backpack. I was fired on the spot, banned from the premises, and got arrested for petty theft. My mom had to bail me out of jail and hire a lawyer. I have never felt so ashamed and embarrassed in my life. When Stacy found out about my firing, she literally cried fake crocodile tears and said, "I guess I will forgive you as long as you use your last paycheck for that Chanel bag I wanted." Are you freaking kidding me? I am probably going to have to pay heavy fines and might even get jail time for this, and all she cares about is getting more free designer crap. My entire family is furious with me, calling me an idiot for jeopardizing my future and saying they won't help me out this time. And you know what? They are absolutely right. I never should have let Stacy manipulate and control me like this. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I sacrificed my ethics and integrity to satisfy her greed. So, Reddit, Ida here for committing theft to buy my girlfriend endless material possessions? I know I messed up huge and nothing can excuse my criminal actions. But I also think Stacy is a major off for using me as her personal ATM/Robin Hood and driving me to do this in the first place with her unreasonable money demands. What do you all think? Let me have it, I know I deserve it. Update number 2. Hey everyone, thanks for all your comments and feedback on my original post. The tough love was definitely deserved, but I also appreciate those who showed some understanding of how manipulated and controlled I was by my ex. Speaking of my ex, Stacy is now very much an ex after the stealing incident that cost me my job. So first, an update on my current situation. As you know, I got fired and arrested for stealing from the store where I worked as a salesboy. I had to pay a pretty hefty fine of $2,500 for the petty theft charge. Thankfully my friend group passed around a Venmo pool and collectively covered the fine for me. They are the real ones for doing that because I was dead broke after getting canned. But now I am in debt to all my buddies and it is going to take me forever to pay them back on my sad income. See, finding a new job has been an absolute nightmare with this fresh theft charge on my record. You would think places like McDonald's or Walmart wouldn't care much, but turns out they run background checks too, and deny anyone with a record. It is messed up how one dumb mistake can completely screw you over like this. I must have applied to over 50 different places, restaurants, retail, manual labor gigs, you name it. I finally landed two very crappy part-time gigs that most people wouldn't want. The first is working as one of those waving air dancers on the street, you know those inflatable tube things that flap around to advertise for places? Yeah, I am that guy now, waving a stupid air dancer in the hot sun for $10 per hour at a used car lot. My other fresh gig is as a delivery driver for a Chinese restaurant, driving around dropping off orders and hopefully getting decent tips. Between those two jobs, I am making just barely enough to start chipping away at paying my friends back little by little each month. But it still might take me like a year or more to pay off the whole $2,500 at this rate. My parents agreed to let me move back home, thank God, otherwise I would be straight up homeless right now. I am having to use my crappy 10-year-old busted Honda Civic for deliveries too since I can't even get approved for a cheap rental car on my trash credit. In terms of my education, I have had to put community college on hold for now until I can get back on my feet financially. I was studying to be a computer programmer, but that dream is pretty much shattered at this point unless I somehow make a miraculous turnaround. I know, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I am just hoping I can get this damn criminal record expunged someday so it stops haunting me. As for my toxic ex Stacy? Well, we had one final biggest blowout fight of all time after she realized her personal shopping was over thanks to me getting fired. This girl actually had the audacity to beg me to take out loans, accuse me of never really loving her since I wasn't willing to commit more crimes to buy her stuff, then finally threatened to ruin my life if I didn't give her a bunch of the items I had already stolen. I will admit, I was nervous she might actually try to report me to the police herself or something if I didn't give her what she wanted. But at that point, I was so fed up with her selfish, greedy toxic behavior that I finally grew a spine and stood up to Stacy. I told her she was absolute trash of a human being for driving me to steal in the first place and making me risk my entire future for her material obsession. Then I grabbed a garbage bag, shoved all the stolen items inside, and hurled it right at her stupid face. The nerve of this leech actually crying about a bunch of her stuff being in the bag, as if anything I had gotten by cheating and stealing was ever really hers to begin with. She tried to attack me and pull her usual emotional manipulation tactics, but this time I wasn't giving in. I screamed at her to get the hell out of my life, called her every name in the book, and threatened to call the cops and report her for her involvement if she ever tried to contact me again. That finally made her storm off in a huff. When she realized her cash cow gravy train was over, she dropped me like a bad habit too. Good riddance to that toxic succubus. My only regret is not ditching her money grubbing, selfish butt way sooner before she managed to drag me down into criminality with her. So that's where I am currently at, no college fund left after paying fines, $2,500 in debt to friends, 2 crappy minimum wage jobs that suck but are the only ones that would hire me, living at home again as a loser, and my future looking pretty bleak all thanks to my malicious idiot criminal actions. Also Stacy could buy more designer crap she clearly didn't deserve. What an absolute waste. I have learned my lesson the hard way for sure, and hopefully this all can serve as a wake-up call to anyone out there who lets themselves get into toxic, manipulative relationships or situations. Stand up for yourselves, have boundaries, and don't let parasitic jerks like my ex try to control and ruin your life over nonsense. No amount of love or desperation is worth compromising your morals and ethics over. I am just glad I hit my breaking point before I did something even worse that could have landed me in prison. For now, I am keeping my head low, my nose to the grindstone, and hustling at these embarrassing jobs so I can slowly pay off my debts and legal fees. Hopefully, I can get this all behind me and start salvaging my life before it's too late. Thanks for reading, and let me know if you have any other questions. Update number 3. What's up guys, thanks for checking in again. I have got another wild update for you all on the saga of my crappy life since getting fired for stealing. So, as I mentioned last time, one of the only jobs I could get hired for with my now tarnished record was working as a delivery driver for this Chinese restaurant. It is an okay gig as far as flexibility, but the pay is pretty lousy and the hours can be brutal some nights. I will never forget this one particularly bizarre late-night delivery run I had a couple of weeks ago. It was around 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday and I was just trying to grind through the remainder of my closing shift so I could get home and crash. The order manager assigned me this delivery way across town to one of the high-rise apartment complexes. As I'm driving out there, going over all the back roads and side streets to avoid traffic, I realized this was taking me uncomfortably close to the neighborhood where my trailer trash ex Stacy lived. I tried not to think too much of it, there are a lot of apartment buildings in that general vicinity. What were the odds I would actually have to go to hers? Well, wouldn't you know it, when I pulled up to the delivery address and looked at the instructions, it was her apartment building. Of all the places in this huge city, I had to go there. My stomach immediately got uneasy thinking about the possibility of running into Stacy's smug mug. I almost thought about just door-dashing the food and getting out of there to avoid her altogether. But I am already in enough hot water with the law, so I reluctantly grabbed the food and headed inside, praying she wasn't home or wouldn't answer the door. I get upstairs to the correct unit and ring the bell, and sure enough, that familiarly obnoxious voice answered just a minute. I wanted to kick myself for not just leaving the second I saw it was her address. Too late now though. The door swung open and there stood Stacy in an old ratty bathrobe, makeup smeared, looking like she had been bawling her eyes out for hours. As soon as she saw it was me, her jaw dropped. "Tyler? What are you doing here?" She tried to wipe away the tears and fix her hair all frantically. "I am just doing my job, don't worry," I sighed heavily, holding up the bag of food. "That will be $27.50 total." She looked really taken aback and flustered seeing me. Oh gosh, I don't have any cash on me right now." "That is fine, I take cards or there's an app you can pay through," I explained, hoping this could just be a quick transaction so I could get out of there. That's when we both startled at the sound of an older male voice booming from the other room. "Who the hell is that, Stacy? Did you order food again without telling me?" Suddenly, this smartly dressed rich guy who looked around 60 years old came barging into the hallway, red-faced and fuming. He took one look at me and Stacy and immediately got the wrong idea. "You stupid little bitch," he shouted, smacking Stacy hard across the face. "I knew you were cheating on me with some loser kid." "And no baby, it's not like that at all," Stacy cried out. "This is just my ex-boyfriend, he works as a delivery driver now." The old guy turned to me with a look of pure disgust. "So, you're the piece of trash who knocked up my girl? And now you're a lowly food courier?" "What? No sir, you've got it all wrong," I protested, feeling my face flush bright red. "I'm just here delivering this order, that's it. And trust me, your girl and I have been broken up for months at this point." "Don't give me that crap," the wealthy older man yelled, getting in my face now in the doorway. "This trashy girl is exactly the type to get knocked up by some loser and try to trap a guy like me into supporting her in her mistake." Stacy had collapsed into a sobbing mess on the floor. As pathetic as she looked, I almost felt bad for her. Here was this grown man she had obviously been trying to mooch off of or use for his money, now verbally and physically abusing her once he saw her true colors. I held up my hands in surrender. "Look man, I'm telling you, there is nothing going on between me and her anymore. I haven't even seen or talked to Stacy in months, not since she got me fired from my job for stealing stuff to buy her." The old guy's expression changed slightly upon hearing that last part. "You got fired for stealing to buy her stuff? Now it all makes sense." He let out a hearty chuckle and turned to Stacy, who was still a sobbing wreck on the floor. "You hear that, you dumb money-digging bitch? Your idiot ex-boyfriend just admitted you made him an actual criminal just so you could get your grubby hands on more overpriced junk. And here you are, 2 seconds away from fake crying about him getting you pregnant, just so you could try to shake me down for even more cash." Hearing it laid out like that, plain and simple, it was like a huge slap to the face for me to be reminded of how messed up Stacy had me acting for her manic shopping obsession. I physically shuddered when I thought about throwing away my future by listening to her manipulative exploitation. But now the tables had turned and it seemed like she was finally getting her bitter, overdue punishment. "You're sick, you know that?" The old guy continued to berate her. "I'm so disgusted I ever felt sorry for you and your crocodile tear stories about being an abused ex-stripper or whatever bull you were spinning. I'm going to contact my lawyer first thing tomorrow and make sure you don't get a single penny out of me." So that was Stacy's latest game after I finally wised up. Using these wealthy older dudes for their money, spitting out some fake sob story to get them to rescue her, until her toxic greedy personality inevitably drove them away too once they realized the truth. It was honestly both sickening and a little bit hilarious to see her try and fail that hard at trapping another wealthy victim. The old rich dude then turned back to me and actually flashed an amused smile. "Thanks for the info, kid. You just saved me from wasting my fortune on this wretched swamp creature over here." He casually strolled over, handed me a crisp $100 bill from his pocket and took the food order from my hands. "For your troubles, and for finally opening my eyes to this gold-digging scammer's nasty true colors." I could barely even muster a comprehensible thank you as my mind was still reeling in shock from the whole situation. The man gave me a firm pat on the shoulder as I turned to leave. Word of advice, son, stay as far away from crazy girls like her as you can. The temporary fun isn't worth a damn bit of trouble she will inevitably drag you through. Trust me, I know from experience. I gave a sheepish nod, still at a total loss for words, and quickly made my way back down to my car. As I drove off, I took one last look up at Stacy's apartment and saw the old man chuck the bag of uneaten food right out the window in a rage, as Stacy's loud wailing cries echoed in the night. Part of me felt a little bit of sympathy for Stacy, being on the receiving end of such verbal and emotional abuse like that. She's an awful person, but she's still human. Then again, she fully deserved every ounce of that wrath after all the crap she'd pulled with me and who knows how many other guys before? I'm just counting my blessings I eventually saw her true colors and got out before falling into an even deeper, darker pit with Stacy. It's honestly scary and disturbing how many guys Stacy has probably exploited and abused in this fashion over the years in her endless quest for money, material belongings, and status. At least now I've got a clear vision and motivation to get my life back on track and far, far away from anything or anyone resembling her ever again. Thanks for letting me vent.